This color palette is so 2023. And of course, we're gonna get to a color palette at the end of this video, like we always do in Color Quickie. But the main thing we're gonna focus on is the color Quiet Moments by Benjamin Moore. One of my favorite neutral paint colors that is almost not a neutral. It's kind of a nearly neutral, but one that I'm really fond of, and I know a lot of you are as well. So we're gonna talk about some of the details behind this color, some technical information, maybe how to use it in your home, and of course, I got some color pairings, 3 wall colors and 2 trim colors that go really well, in my opinion, with this color. So why don't we just get started? Quiet Moments number 1563 by Benjamin Moore is one of the lighter mid-tone colors that has gotten a lot of play and buzz online for several years now, for a really good reason. I think it offers a little more interest to people because it's not just a plain gray, a beige, or a grayish. It has a beautiful combination of blue, green, and gray to make it soft, muted, and accessible, easy for people to get, but it also has color to it, which a lot more people are appreciating these days. Its LRV is 61, and this is important to know. And in case you don't know what LRV means, it's an acronym for the light reflectance value. Essentially, the closer a color gets to 100, the closer it gets to bright white. The higher it is, the more light it reflects. So the fact that it sits around the 60s, like low 60s, that means it's kind of light, quite literally in the top 61% in terms of lightness for all paint colors. And what's good about that is it's not gonna feel too dark in a lot of situations. It's in a good spot. So if you're thinking of using this on your walls, you're probably gonna find that it's gonna be pretty workable in a lot of situations. One thing that I like about colors that have that blue-green quality, they just feel really soothing to me. I know color psychology is a thing and it can differ for certain people, but whenever I do see these colors, I think spa, I just feel relaxed, tranquil. And because of that, it's a color I always recommend in bathrooms, whether on the walls or on the vanity, just incorporated somewhere. But you can also take it outside of the bathroom and just put it anywhere you want to, really. It's not a huge dose of color that's gonna shock you. So I think it does still fit in that neutral category, or at least within a fairly neutral palette. Personally though, it wouldn't be a first candidate for a main color in a home. Like if I had, let's say, a 2-story home that I was picking colors for, this probably wouldn't be my first choice for the hallway and the big open area. Maybe if it was a condo and it was just one space, I think it would look nice enveloping an entire apartment, especially if you have some windows to really reflect that light and just brighten up the space overall. But more likely than not, I would say Quiet Moments would be my second most used color within a palette, just because it has a little bit of that depth and it may not suit certain spaces perfectly. You may want to opt for something a bit more neutral for those connective parts of your home. And that leads us to our first color pairing, which is a neutral. It might be too neutral for some people because of how light it is. It's called Gardenia, which is part of the Affinity collection by Benjamin Moore, AF10 to be exact. And this is a color that is very much an off-white. It has an 85 LRV, which is pretty bright. I would say that's as bright as some pre-mixed white trim colors, so just keep that in mind. This is a color that I would recommend as a main color because it will feel very open and airy and free, and it has this softest little bit of blush kind of undertone, like a bit of pink. Very subtle, but I think it's present enough to give it a different feel compared to a cloud white, which is a little more of a beigey kind of warm creaminess. This doesn't have that. It almost seems like it comes from brown, like a very light brown that sort of gives it that pink illusion. And because of that, there's this extremely subtle split complementary relationship it has with Quiet Moments. You have a little bit of pink and then the kind of bluey green aspect. So there is that back and forth in play that I really do enjoy. The only word of caution with Gardenia is because it's so light, if you use it in a space that has a ton of windows, it gets a ton of light, it will be that much brighter. So just be mindful of it. Just because it's an off-white, I would still encourage you to test your colors out, please. The second color I want to go into is a mid-tone. It has a little more of a real true neutral feel, and it's called Smoky Taupe. This taupe is actually a little more tan leaning. It has a slight green undertone as well, which relates it to Quiet Moments quite nicely. But of course, there really is no blue to be seen this time. It's more of a kind of a khaki, brown, green, gray combination. This color sort of grounds the palette to me. It's more of a traditional grayish color that you might be familiar with. It also has some richness to it because its LRV is around 54. It's not gonna knock your socks off with how exciting it is, but I do think it plays the role of a safer choice where maybe Quiet Moments is a bit too blue in some areas, so you have this as an option to give you something just a little more traditional. So then you have Smoky Taupe to be a little more of a traditional color, just give you another option there. And then for my third color pairing, this is the 2023 choice. And if you're a fan of the color of the year videos we put out, talking about all the different companies releasing their colors for this year, you'll know why I picked this one. It's called Mesa Peach. And it's not quite as vibrant as Raspberry Blush, which is Benjamin Moore's color of the year, but it's definitely inspired by all of these colors that are coming out in that red, orange, clay, terracotta category that have really made a huge comeback. And this is a color that I think does a great job at kind of punching you in the face with color, but it's not going to be visually exhausting and taxing on your eyes because it is a little more subdued compared to these other colors. And I think it'll play really well off of all the green that's going on in Smoky Taupe and Quiet Moments. Very complementary, very much an accent color. So you can use this in a room. It's not completely dark. What's great about it is its LRV is around 38, 39. So that's not that dark. So if you have a room that maybe doesn't get ideal lighting, you might be okay with this one rather than a much darker color, which is going to make your room feel really dark. Mesa Peach is still pretty vibrant and fun and energetic. So I think in any space where you want to feel those things, this is an amazing choice on all the walls if you wanted to. Or you can just use it as an accent color within your furnishings and your accessories. That's always an option too. You don't even need to think of it as exclusively a paint color. What about trim colors? We have two options here, as we always do, a light paint color and a dark one. So you got some choices here. Distant Gray would be my light trim color choice, and this is one of the best cool whites that Benjamin Moore makes. It's a very, very, very light gray, essentially. So it doesn't have any of those creamy aspects, yellow undertones, none of that. Which I think was important for Quiet Moments specifically because I sort of like the more clean, stark whites with my blues and my aquamarines in most cases, not all cases. So Distant Gray was definitely an easy choice. Then for my dark color, I wanted to go with Gravel Gray. And this is more than gray. It's clearly a very, very dark navy blue that happens to be shaded with black. And even Benjamin Moore describes it as black that just has a cool color cast. That's how dark and rich it is. It's also a wonderful choice if you wanted to use it on accessories and furniture, cabinets, doors, and then of course your dark baseboards and all that if you want something really moody and dramatic. Here's the color palette all together. Please let me know what you think. And if you're liking these videos and you haven't subscribed yet, why not click that button, press that like button for me. And if you want to support us even more, you can become a channel member by clicking that join button. Just a monthly little tiny fee to support our full-time YouTube endeavors, making the best painting and decorating content on the internets, I think. And we got some more colorful videos right over here.